Leo Drinkerinos, we are back for another episode of the Idaho Booze Podcast with me, Steve Kuntz. Big news hit this week from one of Idaho's most important breweries. I'll try to shed some light on what the hell is going on at Payette and how its merger with Upslope will affect you and its brewers. And a new brewery lands in Treasure Valley. What's happening this weekend at the brewery's grand opening celebration? We open up the mailbag to answer real questions from real listeners, and we have a bunch of beers to check out in Friday Night Pints. No guest today, but that doesn't mean we can't have a good time, just you and me. So settle in. We have plenty of show on this week's Idaho Booze Podcast. This show is sponsored by the Idaho Brewers United, or IBU. Sign up for IBU's monthly newsletter at idahobrewers.org and get VIP access to brewery events, tastings, and news straight from the source. Be the first beer nerd on your block to download the IBU app and start earning points for free Gem State beer gear. It's only one email a month, so what do you have to lose? Sign up at idahobrewers.org today. Welcome back. Well, it looks like Payette so fucking merges with Upslope. What we know so far, Payette and Boulder's Upslope Brewing announced a merger of sorts on Thursday. This was on Facebook. Payette says that they're excited, quote unquote. I'm told it's not a sale. This is what I was told last night as it was kind of happening or going down, that this isn't a sale and that no one is getting laid off. That's what I was told kind of last night. Also, that Payette needs to continue some type of production at that downtown facility to remain a licensed brewery and continue inviting all ages into their tap room. But more news came in this morning. More news into the inbox. Paige Francis, marketing director and wife of founder Mike Francis, sent me some info about the merger. She says they're really excited for the next chapter and that the merger is a partnership. Payette will move some production down to Boulder for its core beers, while maintaining production here on small batch stuff and ready to drink canned cocktails and seltzers, stuff like that. And anytime you hear me or anyone else on the show talk about ready to drink, that means seltzers and canned cocktails, just so you know. She says that there won't be any layoffs at either company, both Upslope and Payette, no layoffs. Paige also points out that Upslope and Payette are very similar in that they're both adventurous and dedicated to providing high-quality craft beer to their customers, and that combining resources was a natural step in this ever-changing craft world. So let's just stop there for a second. I appreciate Paige for getting me this note. Literally this morning, I'm taping this on Friday. Usually I tape on Wednesday, so this week couldn't tape till Friday, which worked out because we got to learn more about this merger. And for being so transparent, she's always been super nice to me. I've known Mike since he started the brewery, so there's a little bit of history there. We're not like great friends or anything, but you know, we're friendly. So take this however you want. I'm inclined to believe them. I think, sincerely hope anyway, that there aren't any layoffs. I have friends that work at Payette, and I'd like them to keep their jobs for as long as they can. You know, I hope Payette is able to continue to brew the beers that it wants to brew. I believe both companies can help each other here if they do this merger the correct way. So we'd have to go back and look at Canarchy when they first started. So what was that? That was Oscar Blues buying what brewery? Oh, they bought Squatters, right? Squatters Wasatch. So they bought Squatters Wasatch and they called it a merger. I guess it was kind of a merger in that Canarchy emerged from the buying of Squatters Wasatch. They bought Squatters Wasatch. They bought Deep Ellum. They bought a couple other breweries and they created this Canarchy label. And what that allowed them to do was sort of distribute more beers to more places. And they were able to brew those beers closer to where they were distributing. So in High Lie's case, which is Cigar City, I knew I would come up with it. High Lie was able to be fresh. Actually, I would say Canarchy's best IPA for the Mountain West because they were able to brew that at Squatters and Wasatch and then put it into the stores around here. So it was fresh. It was new. It tasted great. So if you have High Lie, it's probably not brewed in that Cigar City brewery down in Florida. It's probably brewed in Utah or in Colorado. So High Lie, great beer, and was brought here pretty seamlessly. So maybe that's something they're looking to do here, Upslope and Payette. They're going to combine their resources with distribution, production, and marketing. And that means that they can spread their dollars out a lot more. They can have a better footprint. I think Upslope probably has a bigger distribution portfolio right now than Payette does. But Payette probably has a better marketing system. They probably have a better production facility. So I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on this one because I know the people at Payette are really great people. I don't know anyone at Upslope because Paige was so nice to reach out and give me that information. So she goes on to say this will allow Payette to grow geographically, I assume, using Upslope's distribution network, again, like we talked about, and will allow them to grow creatively as well, probably because they won't be producing core beers in that giant brew house. The question does come up, though, with that giant brew house, exactly how they will maintain that place. I mean, that brew house is made to produce hundreds of barrels of beer a year, thousands. I mean, I think it's a 15 or 20,000 barrel brew house per year. And, you know, bringing it down to ready to drink seltzers and small batch beers is going to be taxing, I would think, for the amount of money you spend on that brew house to only make small batch or seltzers. I got to think that there's going to be something coming up. She also says the tap room will see some changes, most notably in that Upslope beers will be on tap there next to Payette. So you'll get Payette beers at the tap room and you get Upslope beers at the tap room. That's fine, whatever. Paige concludes by saying that they take great pride in Payette, in the brewery, including their team and customers, and that these changes were necessary to continue making great beers from them and for them, and that they wouldn't do anything to jeopardize those relationships, which I 100% agree with, and that they are, again, excited about this next chapter. Let's just calm down the narrative that I've seen already from some industry people and stop trying to throw dirt on Payette Brewing. Payette was the first Idaho brewery to can and distribute, I think, ever. They took a serious one on the chin. I mean, right in the small stuff. When the shit brewery from Illinois, we all remember that, they successfully sued them for the Wrangler name, and they had to rename and rebrand their best-selling beer. And I can tell you, good God, what a pain in the ass branding and naming something is, let alone something that you're already selling in the market to great effect. They had to totally rename and rebrand that beer, Wrangler, to Rustler. And you know what? I don't know that it ever recovered. I couldn't tell you. I mean, maybe someone from Payette come on and tell us how that worked out. They took another one on the chin when they opened that beautiful new brewery right there in the Greenbelt. Just a gorgeous facility. If you haven't been there, it is really nice. Right before the pandemic. And I mean, you can only imagine like opening up this big, beautiful brewery and then not being able to have people come to it for 6 or 8 months or however long it was here in Idaho. And they probably had to face some pretty hard facts before agreeing to this merger, as did Upslope, but Upslope ain't from here. Payette is, so we're worried about them today. If this merger sets Payette up for success going into the 2020s and beyond, then I'm all for it. I mean, let's see what happens. In the meantime, if anybody from Payette or Upslope wants to come and talk about it on the podcast, you know where to find me. Right here. You can email the show, idahoboozepod@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me via my phone number or any other way you know how to get hold of me. Big shout out to Paige and Mike Francis for the info, and I wish you nothing but the best moving forward with your new partners at Upslope. Coming up next, we have a bunch of brew news to get to, including a brewery rising from the ashes, a big closure you might not know about, and a new brewery. See how I worded that? Opens up in the Treasure Valley. All that and our first mailbag coming up right here on the Idaho Booze Podcast. This week's brew news brought to you by Like Button. You, a multifaceted entrepreneur newly invested in a struggling startup, needs organic and paid growth through lead generation marketing, but you're on your own and can't yet afford a marketing department or a big agency. What do you do? Go to likebutton.us and pick from several package options that utilize organic social media marketing, paid Google ads, SEO strategy, and more for just a fraction of what you would pay a fully staffed marketing department. For as little as $2,000 a month, you get amazing results and boost your new business to greater heights. Go to likebutton.us today and start growing your business with Like Button. Welcome back. I'm Steve Kuntz. This is the Idaho Booze Podcast, and it is time for Brew News. Brew News. We're going to do something, I promise. Music forthcoming. Anyway, on to the brew news. Black Canyon Brewing is reopening in what may have been the shortest ever closure in the history of things closing. Black Canyon Brewing is hosting a grand reopening this weekend out there in Emmett. Looks like Black Canyon, fresh off its closure just last month, I think literally 2 weeks ago, has found two new owners in Billy and Angela Ellison, according to its Facebook post. The Facebook post, effusive in its praise of the Ellisons, saying that the Ellisons are Boise State fans, enjoyers of delicious food and beer, generous, funny, witty, wise, and full of good vibes. Wow. Angela and Billy sound like Mother Teresa, Billy Crystal, Emerald Lagasse, and Billy the Bronco all rolled into one. Exciting news for Black Canyon Brewing, because it is the only brewery in Emmett, and they need a beer out there in Emmett every once in a while. Let's face it, it is sort of out there, so it's good that they still have a brewery to go to. They're going to be celebrating the grand reopening all weekend long, starting on Saturday with some karaoke. So get your singing shoes on. Head out to Emmett for a good time. Congratulations to the Ellisons and to Emmett for holding on to your brewery. Sad news, sad brew news. We hate sad brew news. Boise River Canning going out of business. According to its Facebook page, the owners are stepping away to focus on family. They thank their wonderful customers and the community and are grateful for the relationships and memories made along the way. Now, those of you who have never worked at or ran a brewery before probably don't know anything about Boise River Canning, so I'll drop some knowledge on you. Boise River Canning came into the market with different owners. So these owners were the second owners of Boise River Canning, I believe. And they came in to basically make money off the burgeoning craft beer scene. And the way they did that was they canned beer. So, as I said before, Payette, first brewery in Idaho, I believe, to can and distribute beer. I believe that's true. I don't know for a fact. If it isn't, you can write in the show and tell me. So Sockeye then started canning, and they brought their own canning line and started canning, which was really cool. And everyone else sort of just had to wait until they had enough money to buy a canner, and that's a lot of money. A good canning line can run you anywhere from $500,000 to $10 million. I think the one at Payette was 6 or 7. I could be wrong. Maybe 4. The one at Sockeye was something like 4. So if you want a great one, the Mother Earth one, I think somewhere around there. So anyway, Boise River Canning bought a Wild Goose canner, which was kind of on the low end of that, about a $500,000 or $600,000 or $700,000 canning system, and had it in a truck and would take it from brewery to brewery. So the first customers that they had were Woodland Empire, because one of the Woodland Empire co-owners or investors was also invested in Boise River Canning. So they worked out all of their issues over there at Woodland. And kind of a funny story was my friend Rob, who was the co-owner over there at Woodland. He would tell me all the horror stories of the first days of Boise River Canning, trying to get their beer into cans. And what sucks when there's a horror story with that is you waste beer, basically. If the beer goes into the can and it isn't 100%, if the canning line isn't running at full capacity, or if it isn't getting enough, if it isn't rinsing out the cans right, or if it isn't moving the cans right, or if it's denting the cans or whatever, then you pretty much have to just start over. You have to kind of situate the thing and get it going again. Also, on the brewer side, you have to have that beer ready to go. It's got to be down to about 30 degrees, I think, 30 or 31 degrees. It's got to be carbed and ready to go for the canning process. If it's undercarbed or not cool enough, the canning system won't work and you'll end up wasting beer. So basically, anything goes wrong with the canning process, you waste beer. That's the end result. And I remember just hearing Rob tell me stories about how the first runs with Boise River Canning didn't really go great. But by the time we got them at Edge, I think we were their second or third customer, maybe their fourth. We were doing pretty good. We had our beer chilled down. We had it carved. We had it ready to go. We brought them in and had them do a test run, and everything was good. And we were able to can our beers. We bought some new cans for the Hop Kiss that we put out. We did Obligatory and Hop Kiss at first. Those were the first cans we did. And then later on, we did Pugzilla, and they did Meowthra, and they started doing Huckleberry Cider and stuff after I left. So Boise River Canning really helped Edge Brewing Company and other breweries. Boise Brewing, Woodland Empire, I want to say Mad Swede. I want to say, who else did they help? Those are ones just off the top of my head that I can think that Boise River Canning went in and helped them. I mean, this is a huge deal when you go from just being able to sell your beer in the tap room to then being able to put it out in cans. And once you put it in cans, you can put it into convenience stores, grocery stores, wherever you want to put it. So, and it's a really big deal here in Idaho to put it in cans because people are always talking about how they want to pack in and pack out. They don't want to carry big bottles with them everywhere they go. So that was a huge thing too. And also, cans just look nicer. They're easier to get in the fridge. They fit better on grocery store shelves. It's just a better way of doing it. And Boise River Canning really opened up that avenue to a lot of breweries in the area that were new or expanding at the time. I think it was a lot. All of us that kind of started at the same time started using Boise River Canning, and they were a great partner for us. They gave us a great deal on cans. They were actually able to go buy the cans, which was hugely helpful because back in that day, you had to buy, I think now it's still the case, you had to buy a truck of cans. So what does that mean? A truck of cans is 12 or 15 pallets, maybe 20 pallets of empty can shells. And each pallet of can shells holds roughly 10,000 cans. You had to buy basically 120,000 cans. And that means that you were on the hook to sell 120,000 cans, which is really a lot of cans, especially if you're just starting out with canning. You don't quite have a distribution network laid out quite yet. We did at Edge. We had Albertsons, but other companies maybe didn't. And it becomes a big deal once you buy those cans because they represent how your company is going to go. And so we bought a bunch of cans. We actually had some painted, and Boise River Canning really instrumental in helping us get there with the cans. And they were instrumental for a lot of other businesses too, all the ones I just mentioned, and other ones too. They canned other stuff as well. I think they canned some cider in the area. They canned maybe some ready to drink cocktails, some other stuff like that. So sad to see them close. It wasn't with their current, we didn't do business with the current owners, but the label Boise River Canning, the business, gave a lot of breweries the opportunity to package, and it wasn't available. So sad to see this one on the news feed. Wish nothing but the best for the Peterson family and any small brewery out there looking for a canning line. Slightly used. I'd put it in the used section. If it's on Facebook Marketplace, I'd say used. Probably not looking great, but you might want to reach out and get yourself a canning line. Wild Goose, good company. They'll come out and fix it up for you. Go check that out. Next piece of news. Oh, this is happy news. Southern California Brewery, the brewery, is opening up in Meridian. Oh man, this is going to be hot. You guys are going to love this place. So if you haven't had brewery beer before, let me tell you all about it. It is a small brewery, or it was a small brewery. Now it's a little bit bigger. Opened up in Orange County, I would say probably 10 or 15 years ago. They do a lot of different types of beer. So they do really big beers. They have this thing called Black Tuesday. That's a giant, just a 20%er, I think a 20% stout. They do all these fun barrel-aged stouts. They do a bunch of sours. And they do a really nice line of regular sort of beers. And this weekend, they're going to open their tasting room up at Eagle View Landing. That's right by Topgolf there in Meridian off the freeway at Eagle Road and I-84. And they're going to have 36 beers on tap for your tasting pleasure, including, looks like a table beer. They're going to have a Mexican lager. They're going to have a Helles lager. Oh, that one's good, actually. Rukeller Helles. That's an awesome beer. Really, really good. They're going to have all the stuff you like. Hazy IPA, double hazy IPA, West Coast IPA. They'll have a wheat wine on. This is where it starts to get kind of fun. They'll have a wheat wine on called Red, White, and Brew. That beer is crazy. It's brewed with blueberries, raspberries, and vanilla. Really, really tasty beer. They'll have a bourbon barrel-aged stout brewed with coconut, vanilla, milk sugar, and oat milk called Three's Cocoa Company. White chocolate warmer, another wheat wine, really tasty. This one has got that, it tastes like white chocolate. It's crazy how it tastes. They'll have a couple other barrel-aged beers out. They're not going to be doing any barrel-aged pours this weekend for the grand opening, but they'll start that next week. They have one called Boyce. That's a bourbon barrel-aged old ale. Man, just a lot of awesome stuff out that they're going to have on tap. 36 beers on tap. And that's a lot of stouts and wild ales and sours and just a lot of awesome stuff. So highly recommend heading out to the brewery this weekend. I'm going to try to head out there on Saturday. They're going to have a whole list of fun stuff going on. The brewery's schedule of events this weekend or Saturday, they'll have Houston, Texas hot chicken all day. I guess that's a neighbor of theirs at Eagle View Landing. So it's another kind of a new restaurant that came in. Sushi Brothers food truck will be there. It will be permanent, but for now it's a food truck, Sushi Brothers. So that'll be good. Some sushi, some sush. The Hood food truck. Fusion burgers, fries, and more. Can't wait to try that. That's going to be from 5 to 10. Boise Beer Buddies will be out there. Oh, Stacy will be out there. Oh, man. Well, you got to go check it out then. If you're not signed up for Boise Beer Buddies, get signed up while you're out there with Stacy. She's great. Sweet Lisa's Chocolates will be out there from 2 to 5. From 3 to 8 p.m., Proletariat Wines will be out there pouring samples in the beer garden. So this is going to be great. Awesome new thing for Meridian. Super stoked to have them come aboard and be here with us because they're a really cool company. They are from Southern California, which sort of brings up the elephant in the room, or maybe the bear in the room might be, which is, are these the right Californians for Idaho? I know a lot of people out there get all hung up on the California thing. My family just moved to Eagle, and we moved here from Southeast Boise, all the way from Southeast Boise. So we tell people out here when we meet them at the grocery store, wherever we go, restaurants, bars, hey, we just moved to Eagle, and we get stared at for a second, and then someone asks, where from? Like there's a wrong answer. The reality is that our little Treasure Valley is growing. I've been here for about 10 years. It's gotten bigger. People are sending their kids to school here to Boise State, and the kids aren't leaving. So the parents are coming out here, and they're not just from California, Washington, Oregon, Arizona, all around. I've met people from Montana, met people from Wyoming, met people from Illinois. You meet people from all over the place. Sure, there are negative impacts. More traffic, crazy high home prices. I get it. They're the most two discussed issues. But the positives are undeniable. The Treasure Valley is starting to see more restaurants and breweries that people want to go to, like In-N-Out Burger, Mountain Mike's Pizza, Habit, Chick-fil-A, more and more and more that you see every day. And more casual options are opening up as well, as we have entrepreneurs coming out from different states and opening up here because it's a little cheaper to open up here. I don't know if you know this, but it's cheaper to open a business here than it is in California or Washington or Oregon. There's not as many taxes. It's a friendlier business atmosphere out here. And you have a built-in customer base. The brewery isn't opening in Meridian because the owners want access to more fishing, hunting, and skiing, although those are certainly perks to being here. And they probably do like doing some of that stuff. I mean, they're from California. Californians love doing everything. Maybe not so much the hunting or the fishing, but definitely skiing and hiking and all that fun stuff. They came here because a lot of people from Southern California, and Orange County in particular, have moved here, and they have this built-in customer base. I think we're going to see more of this. I think it would be awesome if Fremont, for instance, opened a pub out here. God, how great would that be to be able to go and have Dark Star on tap whenever you want over at the Fremont pub? Georgetown would want to open a pub here. Why not? We've talked about it before. Bodie's Office, basically the biggest IPA here in Idaho. Why wouldn't they want to come open a place up? That would be awesome. Deschutes was going to open a place up in downtown Boise. I don't know what happened to that deal. It fell through, but hopefully maybe it happens. They kick it back up and do it again. Deschutes, how awesome would that be to have a Deschutes here? Or any of the breweries from Bend. Man, if Crux opened up a new place here, that would be amazing. I mean, these are really cool brands that are opening up here because of these people that move here and because we have a lot more new neighbors. The last time this happened, as far as I can remember, it was 10 Barrel. Now, we all have kind of a bad taste in our mouth from the 10 Barrel thing. But it's still here. It does well. I like going to 10 Barrel. Their beers are good. Their food is good. It seems like Ada County has learned its lesson and did not subsidize the brewery's build out for $10 million of our tax money to get them here. But who knows? Maybe they did. I don't know. But I'm confident that the brewery won't be selling out to Budweiser anytime soon. We should be having the brewery owners on the pod very soon. I would love to get those guys on. I really like their beers. I'm a huge admirer of their brand. I think it's a cool look. And I'm excited to have them here in Meridian. And I will be up there on Saturday. I'm going to get up there and try some beers out. So I hope I see you there. And maybe we'll be able to hear from the Brewery Boys. Give me a ring. Hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on Facebook. Hit me up on my email, idahoboozepod@gmail.com. And speaking of which, no guest this week. We're going to do a mailbag instead. You have a question for future mailbags? Email the show, idahoboozepod@gmail.com, with any sort of question or comment, positive or negative. We'll have it all here. And we'll have some of those emails coming up next on the Idaho Booze Podcast. Welcome back to the Idaho Booze Podcast. I'm Steve Kuntz, and we are doing our first ever mailbag. How exciting is this? We have 3 emails from 3 real listeners, and they're asking real questions. First email comes from Joe in Boise. Where are the beer geeks? Beer capitals of the U.S. have all-encompassing events where beer nerds can sip on and geek out on suds of all types. I'm thinking like Madison's Great Taste in the Midwest and San Francisco Beer Week. I'm talking timed openings of faux phony 20-tap takeovers and dim sum Lazy Susans stacked with pork bow and Nuremberg Red Ale. Sounds great. Idaho has tons of breweries and even a few festivals, but the beer geek culture seems a little thin. Oof. Locals obviously like to drink the stuff, but I haven't found many who like to dive deep into styles and blind tastings and verticals of dusty bottle-aged stuff. Even the festivals I have attended have plenty of people sunshine and music, but nobody brings their tasting journal or Cicerone lapel pin. It's true. You don't see a lot of tasting journals. Maybe I just need a few friends. Thank you, Joe in Boise. Joe, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to get you and your tasting journal and your Cicerone label lapel pin out into the world. And I'm going to tell you the first place you want to go is Brewers Haven. And you want to go to Brewers Haven on Wednesday. Why do you want to go to Brewers Haven on Wednesday? Because that's when they do the free tastings. Every Wednesday night, right around 5 o'clock, go to Brewers Haven. Tell them Steve sent you. I don't know if anyone knows who I am. They should. I spent a lot of time there. But you go to Brewers Haven, and you can bring your tasting journal. You can bring your Cicerone lapel pen. People really like that. Bring a good sense of humor. And bring your wallet, because you're going to want to buy some beers while you're there. It's an awesome place. So check them out. Go Wednesday. Go out on Tuesday. Bob Hubler, Don Larson, and company are out every Tuesday trying beers. They hit, as far as I can tell, this is sort of their lineup. Bob Hubler, Don Larson, these guys, awesome dudes. They hit up Homebrew Stuff, Burt's Brewing. They hit up Boise Brewing. And then after that, probably Mother Earth. But for sure, those ones. So if you can catch up with those guys on a Tuesday, then you'll be able to try some stuff, talk some beer, get your beer geek out with those guys. They're awesome guys. I know every time I run into them, it's a good time. There's lots of laughter, lots of fun. Just great people overall. So make sure you try to hook up with those guys on a Tuesday, if you want to go out and check out those places. And the third thing, which the reason why those guys are out on Tuesday, is because they have a Boise Beer Buddies card. Now, Stacy has not reached out to me about this. We don't have any sponsorship or anything. Wink, wink, but we'd like to. But the Boise Beer Buddies card is your ticket to beer geekdom in Boise for sure. And you can use it all over town. There's a great app now. Stacy has worked her ass off on this thing, and it is amazing. So these guys are out on Tuesday because they get 2 for beers at a couple of those places. I think Homebrew Stuff and definitely Boise Brewing, they get 2 for. So this is a huge thing because beer is now like $6 or $7 a pint. Some places $9. Crazy. So get that Beer Buddies card, subscribe to the Beer Buddies Facebook page, and then subscribe to their email. And then you'll know things like this Saturday where we're all going to be, which is going to be the brewery at Eagle View Landing, where you should join us, Joe. Bring your tasting journal, bring your lapel pen. There's going to be some dusty bottle-aged stuff there. It's just going to be on tap, which will be even nicer because then we don't have to open up anything. And the last thing I'll say about this email, which is an email that I love, thank you so much for sending it in, Joe, is that we are missing a place, and that is something we talked about last week with Greg. Beer 30 out in Bound Crossing closed during the pandemic. So there's a little bit of a vacuum there. Brewers Haven is filling it. I think this new brewery will be really good. I think there's some other places you can hit up. I know you can't drink there, but the co-ops both have really good beer people. And then finally, Whole Foods, upstairs at Whole Foods. Awesome beer scene up there. Really great people. They know what they're talking about. They have awesome beers on tap up there all the time. So Joe, in Boise, there's some knowledge for you. Get out there with your beer geekdom and let it shine. And if you need anything else, let me know. Next email. This one, fresh off. This is a brand new one. Just got it yesterday. I saw on Instagram that Woodland Empire did a collab with Fort George. What's going on with this beer, and what does salmon safe mean? Lily in Garden City sent us that email. Thank you, Lily. Well, this new beer is called the Interstate Combine Party. It's from Fort George. It looks like it's only in there. Maybe there might be some here. It might have gotten here already. Anyway, the Facebook announcement says, or maybe this was on Instagram, you deserve clean rivers, wholesome grains, and a perfectly pale lager. So here you go. A sweet, light aroma of Idaho's finest grain. It's an ode to Idaho, a celebration of our relative proximity. Astoria to Idaho, pretty close, and our dependence on safe and gracious agricultural practices. So basically, this is a new pale lager that's out, Fort George Woodland Collab, which I'm all for. I love both those breweries, so excited to try this beer. Hopefully we'll have it on Friday Night Pints next week. But yeah, go out and check this one out. And basically what salmon safe means, and here, look, our friends from Coldstream Malt are back in. Link Malt and Coldstream Malt. And we talked about them last week on Brew News. Salmon safe basically means that the ingredients and brewing practices used all conform to an environmentally safe product. So you're getting something that has a negative or that has a net positive effect on the environment, meaning that it doesn't cause any carbon emissions and doesn't do anything to hurt our lakes and streams. So that's basically what you're getting when you get a salmon safe pale lager or salmon safe product. And I think a few breweries do this, most notably the Lost Grove does this. They're salmon safe. I think Hopworks Urban Brewery in Portland is salmon safe. And now this beer right here is salmon safe from Woodland Empire in Fort George. So get out there and check it out. Lily from Garden City. Next email. Hey, Steve. Great job with the podcast. I really enjoy them. Thanks. When I was in Boise for a visit a couple of months ago, I stopped by Voodoo and had their Vandalay Industries Imperial Hazy 9.3% ABV, which I rated a 4.5 out of 5 on Untapped because I like hazies, and this one had a tropical pineapple flavor. Hit the palate just right. That's great. They said they brew in Pennsylvania and ship to their locations. Oh, that is true. My question is to see if Voodoo would ever do a collaboration with a local Boise brewery right here in Boise and provide canning abilities. He'd like to be able to enjoy some of the Voodoo beers when he leaves here. I guess he's from Spokane. And second question, kind of a funny question. Anyone who travels from Boise to Spokane, provide a transport service by the case and purchase monthly. So just to hope you're doing good, stay hydrated, Drew in Spokane. Thanks, Drew. To answer your second question first, Drew, it is not legal for people to ship across state lines to bring you beer. I know. What a stickler. Ugh, God. But what you can do is you can find those breweries that do ship. And I don't know if any of our local breweries here ship or if they're able to ship. I'm not sure what the Idaho laws are, but you can go to Tavour and Tavour.com. I've used these guys before to get beer from out of market, and it's a great resource for anybody looking to get beer out of market. And you being in Spokane, you have a bunch of local breweries there. I'm sure next time you're down here, you can set up a trade with somebody. That's as far as I'll go with that one, because I'm not going to start advocating for shipping across state lines illegally. That's just not what I'm going to do. Anyway, Voodoo. Yeah, Voodoo's, they brew in Pennsylvania and then they ship. They have this kind of interesting business model where they brew and they have one local or one centralized brewery, and then they ship to all their locations. And their beers they're pretty good. I mean, you got to go in there with a little bit of first of all, with a designated driver or a really great Uber account, because all their beers seem to be pretty high ABV. This one, the Imperial Hazy you're talking about, the Vandalay Industries, 9.3%. As far as I can remember, last time I was there, their regular Hazy was about 7.8 or 8%. Their double was like 9, and this must be their Imperial 9.3. So pretty good. I had pretty tasty beers there. The food was really good. A friend of the show, Tony, is their chef. And he's a great chef, so they do a good job at the one in Meridian. There's one downtown as well. And Voodoo, if you want to start canning, Drew is ready to start buying. So I think they do have some cans. I've seen them at Brewers Haven. I've seen them at, I think just at Brewers Haven. So next time you're in town, Drew, give me a shout. I'll send you over to Brewers Haven. You can pick up some of those Voodoo beers. I don't know if they'll ever do a collaboration. I guess they probably would. Why wouldn't they? Wouldn't it be great if Voodoo and the brewery did a collaboration? That'd be kind of fun. Two breweries here in Idaho that aren't from Idaho. That'd be interesting. But yeah, if anybody wants to do a collaboration with Voodoo, I'll let you know if that happens, if we see that in the news. So thanks a lot for the emails, everybody. Friday Night Pints is next. Again, if you'd like to email the show, it's idahoboozepod@gmail.com. And I will be back right after this with Friday Night Pints. This show is sponsored by the Idaho Brewers United, or IBU. Sign up for IBU's monthly newsletter at idahobrewers.org and get VIP access to brewery events, tastings, and news straight from the source. Be the first beer nerd on your block to download the IBU app and start earning points for free Gem State beer gear. It's only one email a month, so what do you have to lose? Sign up at idahobrewers.org today. We are back, and it is time for Friday Night Pints. 4 beers this week. They're all from up north. There's a common theme here as I took a trip up there this week to go visit Coeur d'Alene and to do some recreating and some fun adventures that I'll talk about next week. But for now, let's get to the beers. Paragon Brewing Windy Bay IPA. This beer was all over the place up there. I saw it on tap at 3 or 4 different locations. This Windy Bay IPA is a nice little hazy. It starts out with plenty of lime zest, orange, mandarin on the nose. The flavor is nice and balanced with that citrus, kind of an orange zest up front. Smooth finish with grapefruit and orange on the end. And again, a little bit of that lime zest. And that orange is sort of on the mandarin-y side. So it's a little bit more of like a kind of tart. It's not sour by any means, but it's got like sort of that tartness in it. And this one, I looked it up. I did some research. Tons of hops in this one. They got Warrior, Nugget, Simcoe, Mosaic, Azaka, Equinaut. It's a lot of hops. Now, if you're a brewer, you know sort of where those hops fall on the bitterness to flavor spectrum. A lot of people using Simcoe to bitter now, which is fine. It works out great. Mosaic. The ones I get in this, I don't get any of the Warrior, Nugget. I think those are just bittering hops. Simcoe, I think, was used to bitter as well, as I don't get a lot of the pine and resin that usually comes from Simcoe. But I do get grapefruit from the Mosaic. I get orange from the Azaka and the Equinaut, and a little bit of lime zest as well. So it works out well. It's a good IPA. Yeah, like I said, the brewery's been around for about 10 years in Coeur d'Alene. Give it a try when you're up there. That is the Paragon Brewing Windy Bay IPA, 5.6%, 68 IBU, found everywhere up north. I went into the way back to try a brewery that I haven't tried for a while. I saw it on tap and thought to myself, why not? Let's give it a try. Laughing Dog, Man's Best Friend IPA. This one, super classic, caramel colored, pine, resin, lemon peel, all right there on the nose. Very Cascade, Chinook, Columbus, all the classics. This was a very Sierra Nevada-y, pale ale-y type of beer. On the website, it says that this beer is made to showcase Citra hops. Okay, I'll play along. There's a little bit of grapefruit on there as well. But overall, classic IPA, has that caramel malt in there, or maybe the crystal malt in there, whatever it is. So if you get it, make sure it's fresh. Sometimes that crystal malt, that caramel malt, can kind of turn it if it's a little bit older. Anyway, this beer was very tasty. Laughing Dog, great job on the Man's Best Friend. 6.2%, 67 IBU. Probably not for everybody, but definitely scratched an itch for me because I like those old school IPAs. No Lie. This is a big brewery in Spokane. They're all over the place in Coeur d'Alene as well. This beer, the Red, White, and Hazy IPA, was on tap at a few places. Pours yellow, hazy yellow with a white head. Not crazy hoppy on the nose. You don't get a lot. Some stone fruit, melon, maybe some mint. The flavor, though, is clean. It's not overwhelming. I wouldn't say that this is like a super flavorful hazy IPA. It's got a nice finish. It's not a bad IPA. It's just not, it doesn't hit you in the face with hops. And 6.1%, 30 IBU. So you can kind of draw your own conclusions there. 30 IBU, not too bitter. Nice little IPA from No Lie, a brewery that I've been up and down on. This one, I'm up. Red, White, and Hazy. Go check it out if you can. And then a new brewery to me, Brick West Brewing in Spokane. Westbound Train Juicy IPA. This one I got in a 6-pack. It says juicy style, and you get some of that on the nose. You get grapefruit, a little bit of pine, and what I felt was maybe like blueberry or blackberry on the nose, some type of berry on the nose there. The flavor, super smooth, lots of grapefruit, lemon zest, and again, that blueberry, maybe that blackberry sort of flavor. Really tasty little IPA, 6.1%. Found it at the Fred Meyer on Sullivan in the Spokane Valley. Shout out, Fred Meyer on Sullivan. Man, what a good group. Got hoppy with it this week. We'll have some other stuff from the brewery next week. And I'll try to make a trip over to Black Canyon to try some of their beers as well this week. So we have maybe some more diversity on Friday Night Pints next week. That should do it for the pod. Thanks to everyone out there listening. We really appreciate you. Thanks to Paige Francis for getting us an update on Payette Brewing and the Upslope merger. If you're out and about this weekend, I will most likely be at the brewery grand opening on Saturday. Come say hi if you see me. Remember, you can get the pod on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Substack. Just search Idaho Booze and it should pop right up. Please, everybody, subscribe, share, and review. Really helps. All that stuff would really help a lot. I am your host, Steve Kuntz. Good day and good drinking, everybody.